It's Wednesday, July 10th, 2013. I'm Kevin McShann, and this is the McShann Sports Beat Report.
Says getting on the outside and the edges.
Manning on 3rd and 2. And the pass is caught for a first down, and then Victor Cruz breaks free into Eagles territory, and he's still going. Victor Cruz is in for the touchdown. 74 yards. On 3rd and 10, he fires, and the catch is made by Cruz, who breaks free. One man to beat. Victor Cruz down the sideline. Cruz is going to take it all the way, tying an NFL record. 99 yards from Manning to Cruz.
Eli Manning completed 168 passes to Victor Cruz the last 2 seasons. Today, the New York Giants and their most productive receiver completed a contract extension. It will pay Cruz $43 million over the next 5 years, with $15.6 million guaranteed. Cruz signed a 1-year, $2.8 million contract extension back in June. The extra money and years we see now are an extension to that contract.
To finally get it done with, I was smiling from ear to ear the whole time. I couldn't stop grinning. Good to put my ink on that piece of paper and feel good about it and feel confident about it and get back to football. And that was the most important part. But, obviously there's the business side, but I'm excited, man. I'm excited to get it done, and I miss my teammates, and I'm dying to get back out. There was never a time where I felt like I wouldn't be a Giant. I just knew it was just a matter of time if I was going to be them for 1 year for the next 6, which I'll take as 6 right now.
With much more Victor Cruz, we welcome in our own Aditi Kekbabala. And Aditi, timing always tells us a lot of these situations. Why was now the right time to get this done?
Well, Paul, this is the same offer that's been on the table for a long while now. The Giants have said they wouldn't budge on it, and they did it. And I actually asked Cruz just that on the call. Why today? He said, frankly, it was time. He said, I'm done with the back and forth. What's on the table is a really good deal. And let's not forget, at the end of the season last year, Cruz is maybe playing a little bit cautious because he had the specter of that whole looming contract situation over him. Monday, he openly said he didn't want to face those same questions every day this season in the Giants locker room.
And still, Aditi, 7 wide receivers around the National Football League making $10 million or more per year, and Cruz is still not one of them. What do the numbers of this deal tell us about how the Giants feel about Cruz?
Paul, we know that Cruz was initially looking for that type of money, that outside receiver type of money. The Giants balked at that because A, he's a slot receiver, and B, Eli Manning and the Giants system has somewhat made these guys interchangeable. Before Cruz, it was Steve Smith, right? Now, I can tell you there was even some argument within the Giants brass that this offer was too high. Now, in the end, Cruz called the deal tremendous. He even got a little emotional when he said, financially, my family is set for the rest of my life. So now that he's in the fold and happy, the Giants can move on to Hakeem next. If he can stay healthy, the Giants view as their number 1 receiver, Paul.
And the Giants begin training camp July 26th, coming right up. Aditi, thank you.
Having a security blanket of both production, familiarity, and stability is a welcome sight for any quarterback to have in his arsenal of offensive weapons. And for New York Giants quarterback Eli Manning, he must have been smiling from ear to ear on Monday when Victor Cruz, his most reliable and dependable target, struck a deal with the Giants on a 5-year extension worth $46 million with $15.625 million in fully guaranteed money in the first 2 years of the deal. The salsa dancing specialist will also get a $9.5 million signing bonus in addition to and $1.5 million roster bonus, which will be paid to him during the first day of the 2014 league year. Cruz, who said he felt relief after signing his extension, did not participate and was missing in action for the Giants' organized team activities and didn't sign his first-round restricted free agent tender until the Giants' mandatory minicamp had concluded. The new contract adds 5 additional seasons on top of the 1-year restricted free agent tender worth $2.879 million, which Cruz signed in June after months of stalled negotiations on a long-term deal. We are pleased to have this behind us, Giants general manager Jerry Reese said in a statement released by the team. Now Victor can focus on football. Training camp is approaching quickly, and we all have a lot of work to do to get back to where we want to be. Cruz admitted that negotiations with the Giants were a drawn-out process. However, he said on Monday when he went into the Giants' practice facility to sign his new contract, a sense of calm came over him. It was fun to finally get it done with, Cruz said. I was smiling from ear to ear the whole time. I can't stop grinning. It's good to put my ink on that piece of paper and feel good about it and feel confident about it and get back to football. WFAN's Giants beat reporter Paul Dottino took some time out on Tuesday to join the NFL Network's NFL AM crew to go inside the numbers of the Victor Cruz deal, and Dottino says that both sides will equally benefit from signing Cruz to a cap-friendly deal.
So let's talk about this Victor Cruz deal. Is there one side, what's the reaction, Ben? Is there one side that got the better end of the deal here?
Well, I think both sides actually came out of this pretty well. You know, let's make something very clear, though. The numbers that we're talking about are really a 5-year extension for $43 million or so. But in reality, this deal is a 6-year deal worth about $46 million. The reason is because as part of this contract, the Giants and Cruz have agreed to rip up his 1-year tender that was worth $2.9 million and rebalance the money. So in reality, it is a 6-year deal worth approximately $46 million, which is about $7.5 million a season. That makes Victor Cruz the 18th highest paid wide receiver in average salary in the National Football League, and also makes him the highest paid slot receiver in the NFL. So I think that both sides actually came out pretty good on this one.
At this point, it had taken an awfully long time to get this done. We've been talking about this for a while. Who needed to get the deal done more? The Giants, or Victor Cruz?
Mark, that's very interesting because as part of the way that this deal was constructed and balanced, the Giants are actually going to gain about $400,000 this year on the 2013 salary cap. Now, we told you last week they only had about 3.3 under the cap, and that included the Cruz tender. They have actually now reduced their cap number for this season
which could help them get somebody like, let's say, Von Leach, who is still out there and could certainly help the Giants' backfield. At the same time, Victor Cruz is coming out with a pretty nice deal here because the Giants had offered him $7.5 million during the middle of last season for what amounted to a 5-year deal. In reality, he now has what comes out to a 6-year deal. So, not only does he get the $9.6 million signing bonus up front, he gets $15.6 million guaranteed in the first 2 years of the deal, which, by the way, had the Giants franchised him next season, had he not signed a multi-year contract, he only would have gotten a combined $13 million. So he comes out ahead in the first 2 years of the deal, and he now has a 6th year on the back end of what the Giants originally offered had been a 5-year package. So really, again, both sides came out ahead.
Hey, Paul, reports say that Vic agreed on the contract, but then he waited a week to sign it. Why?
Well, you know, Eric, again, I go back to the fact that during the middle of last season, he was offered $7.5 million a year. And basically, the framework hasn't changed. I think Victor Cruz finally understood as we were getting down to crunch time to training camp. Remember, I told you guys that he was getting some bad advice from a few select people over the course of this offseason. And that's why I was so surprised when he signed the 1-year tender. I think he finally kind of smartened up. And I think when Agent Tom Condon of CAA and Giants General Manager Jerry Reese again began to hash over some of these numbers, I think they got to Victor and said, hey, Victor, you know what? This really is a good deal for you. And oh, by the way, remember, 15.6 guaranteed. You know, you know as well as I do, Eric, football can be a very fleeting sport. You can get hurt in a heartbeat and have nothing. So I think Victor Cruz basically just finally came to his senses, and I think he also realized he had to mend some fences with some players in this locker room who were very curious as to why he wasn't signing such a good deal.
Cruz is coming off 2 very productive seasons for the Giants, with a total of 168 catches, totaling 2,628 yards and 19 touchdowns. Cruz also wants to keep his fellow receiving mate, Hakeem Nicks, as part of the Giants' offensive firepower if he can help persuade him. Nicks is entering the final year of his contract. NFL Network's Sean O'Hara and Donovan McNabb deliberate on whether or not Cruz is really deserving of such a large payday from the Giants.
I mentioned the 7 wide receivers making it north of $10 million. Here they are. Victor Cruz, very good, but according to the Giants, not good enough to make that kind of money. Pose that question now to Sean O'Hara and Donovan McNabb. Does Victor Cruz deserve more money than he got in this extension?
Well, Paul, I should have been a receiver looking at that list. And Donovan, listen, when I look at Victor Cruz's contract, it's great for him, but Hakeem Nicks is the #1 receiver for this team. So I don't see them paying Victor Cruz #1 money. Victor Cruz, could you say he deserves that #1 receiver money? Yes, because of the plays he makes, not the #1 receiver.
Well, you have to look at it, Sean. Who's been there for Eli Manning, and it has been Victor Cruz. When you talk about Hakeem Nicks, he's been injured. He's been in and out of the lineup entirely too much. So who does he go to? Victor Cruz. Does he deserve #1 money? Absolutely. The way things are going now, when you're up and your contract is there, it's important that you reward these guys because later on they're going to be upset. They're going to be disgruntled. There's one guy in that locker room that you care about and that really pays all the big dividends, and that's Eli Manning. And when he looks out in the receiver position, he looks at number 80 and he realizes he's okay.
Yeah, Donovan, I think what we see here with Victor Cruz signing his contract, he's giving the Giants room now to lock up Hakeem Nicks long term because he is the #1 receiver. So, well, I think it's really going to depend on Hakeem Nicks and his health. You brought that up before. The game that he's missed, that's the only question mark with Hakeem Nicks because when you look at first and second down with play action pass, Eli's going to Hakeem Nicks. Third down, he's going to Cruz.
But one thing you have to worry about is Hakeem Nicks. Is he going to be there? But yes, he's an explosive player and a game changer, the guy that I think Eli relies on. But is he going to be there for 16 weeks? That's the most important thing. Yes, he's made big plays when he's been healthy in the playoffs for him. But I need you all the way through the season. Let's build that chemistry. Let's make sure that we're going to have that timing when we need it. Yes, a lot of good things happen when they won the Super Bowl, but every time after that, he's either had a foot injury, his back, whatever it may be. The consistent guy in this situation has been Victor Cruz, so he needs to be reported as such.
ESPN's NFL analysts Herman Edwards and Ron Jaworski took some time out on Tuesday to discuss just how integral Cruz is to the Giants' offensive attack on both SportsCenter and NFL Live.
Giants receiver Victor Cruz is staying in New York. Why is he such a good fit for the Giants?
Well, he's been very productive for them. You're talking about 19 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons. He's always been available, but he's a multi-dimensional receiver. In other words, he can play in the slot. He can also play outside. He's very good a run after catch player. In other words, if he gets the ball in space, he can make people miss. He also has return ability, and Eli Manning has formed a bond with this guy. He always finds Victor Cruz open. Victor Cruz can break double teams. He's very quick off the line of scrimmage. He's not the biggest guy. What I like about Victor Cruz is this. He was not drafted. This guy was a free agent. It tells you a lot about who he is and what he's about.
And his determination. And
it has something to do with it. He's not the biggest guy, not the fastest guy, but he always seems to get open at the right time.
Training camps open this month, and we're less than 2 months from the kickoff to the season. I know you're excited, Herm.
Oh, can't wait. July 18th, the Saints are the first team in, right?
Yeah.
I'm counting the days down, too.
Can't wait.
Here with Coach Herm Edwards, Ron Jaworski. I'm Wendy Nix from NFL Live. We'd been waiting for quite some time. We knew, or it appeared, that the New York Giants and Victor Cruz would reach agreement on a long-term deal before training camp. They have indeed. 6 years, $46 million. Jaws, your reaction to Cruz and the Giants hooking up for the foreseeable future?
Well, Wendy, this is a deal that had to get done. You know, Eli Manning has to have that go-to receiver, and that's Victor Cruz. And I love the skill set of Victor Cruz within the Giants scheme. You know, he loves to play that inside position in the slot, and he has the attributes that are so necessary to be successful inside. He's tough and he's smart. When you play inside, you're going to get hit by linebackers, safeties, corners, and even defensive linemen. And he's smart. He reads the coverage on the move. That's critical for that position, Coach. You know that.
Yeah, Jaws makes a great point, and he's very versatile in this sense. He can go outside of the numbers and still play. And when you think about what he's done the last 2 years, 19 touchdowns. He's been their leading receiver. He's great when he gets the ball in his hand. He can play in space. He's a space guy. In other words, when he gets the ball, he can make you miss. He's not the fastest guy, not the biggest guy. Remember this, Jaws. He was a free agent. Guy wasn't drafted. So he's worked at his skill, and this is why he's receiving this contract.
And for all the bad news we've seen in the NFL over the past few months, this is a feel-good story. An undrafted free agent, Victor Cruz, out of UMass, and now a very successful player in the National Football League. NFL Live every weekday, 4 o'clock Eastern on ESPN.
Donovan and Sean put the word elite under the microscope and discuss whether or not Cruz has elevated himself into being put in that very category.
There have been some incredibly talented wide receivers to come into the NFL the last 10 years, but none of them, not even Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, has as many receiving yards in their second and third seasons combined as Victor Cruz. On the flip side, you look at last year's leaders in receiving yards ranking 15 through 19, and you find Victor Cruz's name next to the likes of Brian Hartline and Lance Moore. Good players, but certainly not elite wide receivers. So which label are you more comfortable with? Elite wide receiver or just really good slot receiver?
Well, Paul, he's absolutely elite. And you know, everybody talks about slot receivers having to have 100 catch seasons. To me, it's not about quantity. It's about quality. And when you look at Victor Cruz, last 2 seasons, he has led the NFL in production on third down. So I look at Victor Cruz as elite because he does a number of things. Yes, we compare him to Wes Welker. He runs great routes. He's very precise, getting in and out, creating separation. But here we see this play against the Redskins. That was bracket coverage. He was double covered. He ran through it. He has the speed that most slot receivers don't. You see him right there going up against our guy Rondé right there. Let them in the dust. And Victor Cruz brings certain abilities that not all slot receivers have. I think back to the Jets game in 2011. The play that vaunted the Giants into their Super Bowl run. He made guys miss. Not a lot of slot receivers can do that. He made Cromartie miss in route to his 99-yard touchdown that basically springboarded their season.
I think it's truly unfair to compare him to guys like Andre Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, all these guys who just really stay outside. I think when you look at just a wide receiver position, it's about game changes. And who is a guy that you have to double team because you know in third down he's going to get the ball, and you just can't seem to stop him. Hey, he had over 1,000 yards receiving, but he dropped a lot of balls early in the season. Here's a guy who Eli Manning definitely rely on. You know, you have to have that security blanket playing the quarterback position, and he just so happened to be on the outside and now on the inside. Yes, he's well deserving of the money that he received, maybe a little bit more, but I think when you look at what he's been able to do, no, he's not comparable to a guy like Wes Welker. To me, because Wes Welker is just a slot receiver. Compare him to Hartline, that is a slap in the face to a guy like Victor Cruz. I think when you look at the elite receiver quarterback combination, you have to start with a guy like Eli and also with a guy like Victor Cruz.
What makes your life easier, though, to have someone really good in the slot or someone dominant on the outside?
What makes my life easier as a quarterback is who can I trust? And when it comes to the passing down situations, I know where he's lined up and he knows where the ball is going to be.
What's going to make Eli's life easier this year? Last year's second-round pick, Randall can step up and be better than he was his rookie season.
Don't forget Lewis Murphy.
That would help as well. Speaking Lindsay, now ready to help.
Well, he certainly had an elite season, Paul, in 2011. Victor Cruz with the most receiving yards in a single season in Giants history that year, topping the list with 1536.
Victor Cruz is a local kid, a homegrown product of sorts, and on Monday, he was given the opportunity to stay close to home by striking gold and striking it rich with the Giants by inking a new 5-year pact to provide Eli Manning with his most popular target for the foreseeable future. Cruz has revolutionized the slot receiver position within the NFL with his dynamic, flamboyant, and most consistent way of doing business. And for the Giants, he's a critical piece and lifeline to their essential offensive productivity and flair. He was richly rewarded for his efforts, and yes, there was a bit of a stalemate during these contract negotiations because giving a boatload and sum of money to a slot receiver is a tricky and somewhat dicey proposition, while their role on the field in today's NFL is, of course, without question, and their importance invaluable. Paying a third down receiver more than $10 million a year isn't fiscally responsible, regardless of how much and how valuable of an asset they are to your team. So, this tap dance probably went on longer than it should have, but Cruz is no doubt happy with his new sense of security, both from a financial and professional perspective, and based off the activity we've seen this offseason with Wes Welker going to Denver and Danny Amendola going to New England to replace his predecessor in Welker, the slot receiver position is here to stay, and Cruz can salsa his way into the end zone on a routine basis for the Big Blue in the Big Apple. Both sides appear to be amicably happy with this deal, and now the Giants can refocus on returning to the mountaintop and hoisting yet another Lombardi Trophy. Next on the to-do list for General Manager Jerry Reese is finding a creative way to ensure that the number one and premium target within the Giants offense in Hakeem Nicks gets what is rightly coming to him from a dollar and cents standpoint. And with the deal that Cruz signed on Monday, it allows the Giants to have some creative and much needed flexibility in order to get the job done. Victor Cruz has also paved the way for a small-town kid to make it in the big leagues and follow a childhood dream to make it to the NFL. Signing a contract extension with the Giants is much more than a bottom-line proposition for Cruz. He wants his legacy to be one of change and influence, and based off of his personal and professional results to this point in his lifetime, he's off and running and has a solid base on which to grow. Kevin McShann, Sports Beat, reports.
Breaks free into Eagles territory, and he's still going. Victor Cruz is in for the touchdown. 74 yards. On 3rd and 10, he fires, and the catch is made by Cruz, who breaks free. One man to beat. Victor Cruz down the sideline. Cruz is going to take it all the way, tying an NFL record. 99 yards from Manning to Cruz.
Yeah, converted a 3rd down.
Hey, 3 down. Hey, 57's the mic. 57's the mic.
0 for 8. Looking for Cruz. And it's caught after being tipped, and Cruz to the end zone. Boy, Seattle had perfect coverage downfield. Eli Manning just simply threw that one up, said a prayer. There were 2 defenders down there, Cam Chancellor being the safety. That was really over the top of it, and probably should have been able to intercept that ball because he's the one who's driving on it and had the best chance. But Victor Cruz, it goes up in the air, he stays with it and is able to haul it in. That's one of those, they talk about Eli Manning's interceptions being down from a year ago. That one could have very easily have been intercepted.